In this video, a brief introduction of the first steps and the most basic functions of the STAX-data.net webpage are shown. In the STAX project, emissions of radioxenon and other isotopes from medical isotope production facilities and from nuclear reactors are measured in order to determine the impact on the IMS stations. The results of the measurements can be viewed on STAX-data.net. Access to data on STAX-data.net is only possible for registered and approved users. In order to get access to real data, users have to have data sharing agreements with individual facility operators. The data shown in this video are simulated data from a fake facility called STAX. Users which do not yet have access to real data can still view the simulated data in order to explore the various data access options on STAX-data.net. Now, after entering username and password, a window is displayed which shows the emission data for the facilities where the user has access to. In this case, the user only has access to STAX. If the user had access also to other facilities, those would be displayed here in that drop-down menu. The top chart here shows the emission data as a time series. The emissions are displayed in becquerel per hour. Hovering over the data points, one can see the emission value and the date of the emission. The time resolution of the data is 15 minutes. By using the right mouse button, one can access the spectrum file which corresponds to the selected data point, and the spectrum file is opened. What one can see on the top chart is the high-resolution gamma spectrum. In the table below, the peak data for each detected peak are displayed. Going back to the isotope release chart, again, hovering over the data points and using the right mouse button, one can download the ATS file, the data file in which that data point is contained. In the STAX project, a format has been developed for displaying or recording time series data, the so-called ATS format. Details on the format can be found in the documentation section. Alternatively to downloading the data as an ATS file, all the data displayed on the chart can be downloaded as a CSV file by going down to the bottom of the page and hit the Export Emissions button. From there, then the data can be viewed as CSV files showing the start and stop time of each data point and the isotopes with concentrations, minimum detectable release, and with their uncertainties. On the bottom chart, one can see the isotopic ratios of the data displayed in the top chart. By default, the 4 isotopic ratio chart is shown, but one can also select combinations of 3 isotopic ratios. The purpose of the STAX project is to determine the impact of industrial radioisotope emissions on the IMS radionuclide detection network. This can be done by applying atmospheric transport model calculations on the emission data. The estimated concentrations at IMS stations based on ATM modeling are shown on the Impact on IMS Noble Gas Monitoring tab. For each IMS radionuclide station, the impact of the emissions on the concentrations at the IMS station location is calculated. As the fake STAX location is virtually located in the US, there is no impact, for example, on ARX01, which is in Argentina. The closest station located to STAX is U675. So selecting that station and hitting the most recent data button, one can view the calculated concentration at the IMS site based on the STAX release data from the STAX facility. What can be viewed here are the calculated or estimated concentrations at the IMS station, in this case USX75, for the typical sampling interval at the IMS station. So at USX75, there's usually a 12-hour sampling interval, and the simulated concentration is calculated over this 12-hour time interval. On the bottom chart, one can view similar data. These are the data by each individual emitters. In this case, as we only have access to one emitter, namely STAX, the same data can be viewed on the top and the bottom chart. Would there be several facilities available? The individual contributions could be seen here on the lower chart. The data on these charts can be used to better interpret the IMS detections. For example, if the simulated concentrations matches up with the actual IMS detection, this is a good indication that the data can be explained by known emitters. If the IMS data are statistically significantly higher than the simulations, unknown sources may be considered. IMS data are not shown on staxdata.net. So in order to do the impact analysis, one has to download the impact data to compare with IMS data offline. Like for the emission values, the impact data can be downloaded using the Save Emitter Impact Data as CSV file. This video was showing the most basic features of staxdata.net. There are many more features available not shown here. Also, users can have access to data by email forwarding or using scripts to download data regularly instead of viewing them on their web page.